been like a journey in learning how to receive and feel
Yeah.
good with that.
It's such an important aspect of our spiritual path and our learning as souls to really be able to trust our intuition.
Then voila,
Yeah.
there's the floor beneath you that you couldn't see before, but it just suddenly appears,
Yeah.
right?
When you're in that space of trust, you might think, "Oh, I'm taking a step. Where am I stepping?" And then, whoop,
Right.
it appears.
Yeah, and you're caught.
Yay! Hello and
Hi.
welcome to the Higher Vibe. My name is Jean Roorda. I'm your host, and I'm having conversations with psychic friends. Today I have with me LaLaneya Luster. She is an energy healer and a conduit for healing. Welcome, LaLaneya.
Hi, Jean. Thank you.
Yay!
Thank
So
you
good
so
to have you
much.
here.
Appreciate that. It's
Oh,
good to be here.
yeah. So, LaLaneya, you've had some big changes in your life recently. I know you had a big move. You had been living in Vermont for many, many years and had a big
Right.
move to a whole nother state, a warm place by the coast.
Right.
And as we were chatting earlier, you shared just how much that big move brought up for you in terms of really having a space to practice trust, right? It's such an important aspect of our spiritual path and our learning as souls to really be able to trust our intuition,
Right.
trust those intuitive knowing hits that we get,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we're going through a big change where there's a lot of decisions to make. There's a lot of questions about what am I doing? Where am I going? What direction? All the details. And so you had this really wonderful experience recently. It might have been intense too.
Very intense.
Yeah, but I'd love to hear more about how you experienced that path of really trusting yourself with the little and big decisions along the way during this big change for you. Because I know a lot of people are going through big changes right now. You're not the
Right.
only one, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and boy, do I see that.
Yes,
Yeah.
so
There's a
much
lot
big
of people.
change up for
Mm-hmm.
people. So, yeah, how has this big change affected your ability to trust yourself and your tools for how you connect into that intuitive knowing and that intuitive information about what your next
Yeah.
steps are?
Yeah. It's really helped me to be strong in my own personal knowing for self and also in like strengthening my practice because I've felt the difference between me doing pretty much what a good portion of society probably does, which is just get up and go and you'll get to the other side of this uncomfortable point eventually, and
Just keep
find
going,
yeah, just
push
keep
through.
going, push
Yeah.
through. So I felt the difference between that and then every time I did listen to that intuitive nudge and go out into nature, my favorite thing was literally to go to a park, bring my blanket, bring my oracle cards and get quiet. And then I'd have a question I would write down. I had my journal and along with that came the dreams afterwards and getting
Mhm.
answers from spirit, which came through as animal. I have a book, A Shaman's Guide to Animal,
But just what each animal represents in terms
represents.
of its
Yeah.
message and its vibration.
Right, right. So I would go and give myself that time. It was beautiful because I always eventually within days would get the answer that I had been painstakingly you know, like agonizing over, do I do this or not do this? Stuck in that fear. Yeah, and then not knowing, like not really knowing what the right thing is. It was perfect.
Yeah, it's such a huge difference, the space between trying to figure out, kind of doing the mental gymnastics, right?
Oh, it's
Of
painful.
figuring out our decisions and our next moves versus really having that intuitive alignment and going into that deep space of listening. It sounds
Yeah.
like you really just created space to be in more of a prayerful, quiet, internal, slowing down space to really, yeah, to really listen
Yeah.
and tune in to spirit's communication with you.
That's a place where I really love to, I guess, rest my hat or hang my
Yeah.
hat. Whether it's at nighttime, grounding my energy, I go in and out of that. First, I'm on this really great track of doing all the things that's going to help with my alignment, and then I get bumped off, right?
Yeah.
But One of the favorite things that I love to do is to listen to any music that brings me back to my heart
Yeah.
because that's my truth, that's my knowing, that's my connection. And I get so emotional. I'm just
Mhm.
an emotional being with that. So it also helps me to recognize whether I'm too far off my
Right.
path and, to turn around and start
Yeah.
doing what I know works for me so that I
Yeah.
can take the steps
Realign.
forward and realign. Exactly.
Yeah. Sounds like music is a great healing tool. I'm sure
Oh,
for a
yeah.
lot of people, but especially for the emotionally sensitive ones. You probably have a lot of water in your astrology chart.
I do. I do. Yes. And you know what
Yeah.
I recently learned, probably a year ago, but I'm really starting to understand that more, is my moon is Scorpio.
Mm,
And that's the depth of me, you
yeah.
know. I always aspired to the Aquarian and I thought that was just all of who I am, but I've since
Yeah.
learned no, that's just a small fragment. That's the awkward and sort of quirky side of me that I tend to show to people when I
Yeah.
trust that I'm in a
Yeah.
safe space. But even that, I've been pushing my limits too, as far as just being fully me, just honoring that.
So Scorpio moon is deeply feeling, deeply
Deeply
perceptive.
feeling.
Yeah.
For sure.
So in terms of your move and transition to a whole new place in the country, how did that start? Like what was the initial spark of like I'm ready to make some huge changes?
Every time I made a decision to go in one direction, there was something that stopped me in my tracks,
Yeah.
telling me, no, no, this is not the direction that you're supposed to go in. As painful as it was at some times for me, and at other times it was like, okay, good enough. I'll make another choice instead. I've done a lot for a lot of family, being there for my daughters and also helping out my mom. But I continued getting messages, whether it was from my own intuitive ways or from other people, that it was my time. It was my time to do me. And so I'd been talking about for a few years, going away.
No.
Just moving away to the ocean. The ocean was calling me. Warmer weather was calling me. I really wanted to be gone by the end of 2023. And winter came, the first snowfall, and I cried like a baby.
Oh,
It's like,
like you
okay.
noticed the
So
snow,
that
or
was
you
like the
just don't want to
moment
be around it anymore.
right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I just need to move. I need to
Awesome.
be in a different place. So again, back to the doors, financially, things were just it was like a snowball effect, one thing after
Mm,
another.
yes.
So I've got to do things before things get worse, basically. And I kept having dreams and so I just did it. And once I made that decision, once I got that big yes, everything flowed and it felt miraculous. I remember talking about miracles
Yeah.
and from like angel numbers to wanting to be in a specific place for a job so that I can financially get myself here to Wilmington.
Yeah.
And woke up in the morning. I'm on one of those job sites that I'm forgetting the name of.
Mhm.
And boom, there it was. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I know him. So I started working it was a medical spa. Yeah, a medical spa. So there was a lot of red light therapy and
Oh,
foot
yeah.
detox
Yeah.
and saunas and all of that. And so essentially, I applied. And then I heard in my head, go there now. Go see if he's there now. You can
Yeah.
talk to him. And I did. And then I got hired on the spot pretty much
Wonderful.
and
That's
started
a good
working.
energetic match for you. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's more of a healing center,
Right. Exactly.
for
Yeah.
alternative treatments. That's wonderful.
Yep. So, and every time I started getting down on myself, a car would like want to get past me. And I'm like, what are you in a hurry for?
Right.
The license plate would be like 222.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that would just keep me in check because I had gone to Wilmington a few months prior just to check out the area, leave my little pixie dust here and there,
Yeah. Yeah.
looking for work and
Yeah.
passing out my business cards. And I ended up having a reading, and at the end of the reading, she's like, "Oh, well, it's 222 right now," and she's also a
Oh.
numerologist, so she told me
Okay.
the meaning of that. And
Yeah.
all the way back home, I kept seeing that number, right? So I
Wow.
just saw that as my breadcrumb answer
Signs
from
from
spirit,
spirit.
my sign from
Yeah.
spirit.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
Little
that's how
messages of encouragement and validation. Like, yep,
right.
you're on the right
Yep.
track. That's so
Yep.
fun.
Yep.
I
So it
love
was
those.
perfect. And
So
that's
it
how I
sounds
got
like
here.
really when you made the commitment, I'm noticing something about just that yes that you said you got that yes, and when you really aligned fully and committed to the move, then everything
Yeah.
fell into place, right?
Exactly.
Whereas as
Exactly.
soon as you
Instead of
just
forcing it.
right, instead of focusing on any of the doubts or fears or kind of the mental gymnastics of what am I doing and where am I
Right.
going and how's this going to work out, it's just aligning with that internal yes and that
Yeah.
commitment to yourself because you knew too, it sounds like that this was about making more space for yourself and living your next step as you've moved into a new place in your life where you're not raising your kids anymore and you're in a phase of just giving to yourself, right, and being able
Exactly.
to create more space for what is it that you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas previously in your life, it was a lot about service to your children and family and
Mm-hmm. And family. Exactly.
lots of just work to make it happen. And now it's about more receiving and allowing and, yeah,
Yeah, that's
creating space for a
beautiful.
whole new phase of your life. It's amazing.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been amazing because I've been getting so much confirmation from the time that I got on the road and traveled here, right down to the very first like trusted house sitters gig that I did. It was just absolutely beautiful. The people that I'm meeting were so aligned, and I'm seeing them and they're seeing me.
Yeah.
And to live from that space and then to have that validated, it mirrored back to you is so beautiful. It just brings tears,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, and because, like you said, it's such a different space to live from. One of the words we could use to describe that is to live in the flow, right? In the flow of
Free
your
flow.
intuitive knowing and just connecting
Yeah,
with the people you need to connect with and not coming from that mental figuring it out space, but more of that spiritual flow of your intuitive guidance. And
right.
it's so different to live from that place.
It really is. And it in the beginning it was really scary. There were some really scary points because you don't know what your next steps are. So you kind of get caught up in the old way of doing things and then you remind yourself, this is what I did, remind myself, nope, you know what happens. So I go back to what I know to do, and as soon as I do that, literally my calendar will fill up or I'll get that phone call or it's like the visual. I get a lot of visualization, so it's stepping out off of that ledge,
Mhm.
and then voila,
Yeah.
there's the floor beneath you that you couldn't see before, but it just suddenly appears,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
when you're in that space of trust, you might think, "Oh, I'm taking a step. Where am I stepping?" And then, whoop,
right.
it appears
Yeah, and you're caught.
your next
It reminds
landing
me
spot.
reminds me of in my late teen years, I would collect probably from the time that I was like 15, maybe even early 20s. I collected footprints in the sand.
Ooh, I,
Well, it was the poem Footprints in the Sand,
oh,
and
you would
it
collect
spoke
that
of
poem in all its
that
different
poem.
forms.
So, like, yeah, so like a keychain, or I'd find a print, or, a mug that had it. And
Is that the one where like spirits walking beside you?
yeah, Jesus is walking
Jesus
beside
is
you.
walking beside you. I love that one.
Yeah. In those
Oh,
times of trouble and worry, it was in those
yeah.
times that I was carrying you, basically.
Yeah, where the
Because
footprint.
there was only one set of footprints.
It's coming back
And
to me now. Yeah, like why was
yeah,
there only one set of footprints? And
yeah.
it's like, did you leave me? And Jesus says, no, that's when I was carrying you.
Exactly.
I love that.
And,
Oh,
back then I thought I understood that, but
mm,
here and now, years later, I truly, like, I embody that now.
yeah. Much
Yeah.
deeper level of
Much deeper
understanding
level.
and experience with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And all the way down here, I would, before I would get in the car, I have my little thing that I do to protect and to stay grounded and not out here in spacey. But, I asked Mother Mary to hold my left hand and Jesus to hold my right hand.
Yeah.
And it was just so beautiful. And I'd never done that before. I'd
Wow.
never
Yeah.
called that in before.
Mm,
It's
love
been a
that.
huge spiritual journey for me,
Yeah.
just trusting, that even though there's been times when I felt like I had no one in my life, like there's a lot of people in my circles, but there was
Mhm.
really no one that was supporting me. There's
Mm,
really a lot of support that I'm receiving.
wonderful. And that again points to like if you're navigating with the mind instead of intuition, you might think in your
Intuition.
mind, well, I know all these people, why aren't they helping me out? And you're thinking it needs to come from this place or this person or but
Exactly.
when you're operating more in the flow in that intuitive space, you're not trying to figure out who or how or when the support shows up and what
Yeah.
for. You're just trusting that it will.
Exactly.
And that it
Exactly.
does. Yeah. And that
Yeah.
it's safe to ask when you need a specific type of support. And then you
That's
get
been
to
a huge lesson
discover.
for me, asking for help.
Yes. Yeah. That's
That's
a
been a
huge one for
huge, yeah.
so many givers. It's the hardest thing to ask for help when we need it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah. And I'm
we
in
can
this,
receive too.
that's what I was just going to say. It's been
Yeah.
like a journey in learning how to receive and feel
Yeah.
good with that. There's been a lot of growth. This is a huge growth spurt.
Yeah. It's a huge time of growth and change for so
Right.
many people. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I love that you're willing to share your story here because there's a lot there for everyone that's going through big change right now and
Mm-hmm.
just how to really create space to have that change with greater ease and to really call in grace and trust in the
And
experience.
trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Certainty has been huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having certainty instead of letting all the doubts and fears crowd out.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
crowd you out.
And and back to that bouncing back and forth between the two, it reminds me of the time when I applied to a local store down here, Harris Teeter,
Hmm.
thinking like, okay, they have the benefits, they have this, they have that, and it was a great job. And I got hired on the spot, and they hired me, $2 more than what they normally would hire. So it was sweet.
Yeah.
But then I think it was like 3 days later, another one of those scenarios where the very place I wanted to get into is where I'm at now, put an ad out that they were hiring, and I called immediately.
Yeah.
And she had said, I told everybody that the first person who calls, that's a sign that they really want to be here.
That's great.
And it was me.
Yay.
So yeah. So I got in there, and it's just so the point you're bringing that up is because listening to the belief systems that oftentimes guide us through our lives, and our belief systems can change throughout based on the new experiences that we call in. And so mine is, you have to do A, B, and C belief system from how I was taught in order to support yourself or, whatever it might be. But working in some of those environments is not very aligned for me. Like
Yeah.
I feel I'm always in fight or flight mode, and that takes a beating. My body takes a beating.
Yeah.
And then I get ill. And that's been something that has happened a lot.
Yeah.
So when I saw that job, I'm like, this is perfect. So I go there. I look forward to going to
Yay.
the
Yeah.
job, and I'm meeting other people. People are learning that I'm an energy healer. So, it's been
Great.
really, yeah, it's been really helpful. And again, it's very validating in what works for me and for others too, if they're willing to open up and trust
Yeah.
in living a different way.
Yeah, it's a huge topic, LaLaneya. I'm so grateful you're willing to talk about our journey and struggle with creating that foundation financially as a healer, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of healers struggle with that and have can
Mm-hmm.
relate and have that experience of okay, there's the either childhood programming or societal programming that says, well, this is how you make money. You got to go out and get this job or do this
Right.
career or, set things up in this way. But a lot of times those structures just do not work for healers.
Not at
One,
all.
because we're so psychically sensitive, and as healers, we're typically creating a healing space wherever we go. And if you're in an environment, whether it's corporate or just a large environment where there's a lot of people coming and going, it's a lot of energy to manage, and it's
Yeah.
it's like a job you don't get paid for, right?
Right, exactly.
Like you're being paid to come do whatever, check people out, or there's what you're being paid for, and then all the other stuff that's going on that you aren't seen for. There's no validation for that. There's certainly no paycheck for that.
It's true.
And yeah, like you said, your body can really take a beating. It's when you're in an environment that's not receptive to your healing, even if you're not
Right.
trying to give it to people, you just are because it's who you are and the energy that you emanate. It's like you're surrounded by a lot of resistance all day. And a
Yeah.
lot of the energy around you is in a lot of effort and frustration. Not to mention if it's a kind of store with a lot of customers, what kind of energy they're coming in and out with, right? So
Right,
much.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
so by the end of the day, as a healer, you're just like, whoa, you're just wiped out.
Absolutely.
Because it's not something you can turn off. I mean, you can have awareness of psychic boundaries, energetic boundaries. You can have
Yeah,
awareness about not taking on all the energy from various people who are not there to get a healing. But
exactly.
it's still, it brings out that energy in you. And most healers find that they can't work in those environments. They have to
Mm-hmm.
really be aligned with who they are as a healer and find an environment that's in alignment with that healing energy, right?
Right,
So if you're in a
right.
space where people can have that energy, even if you're being paid for something else, there's an openness to you as who you are and that healing
Mm-hmm.
vibration. And then, like you said, you can make connections there for the other work that you
The
do
other work,
as a healer.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
And
really following your intuition and knowing, I got to say no to this other offer of work because it's not
right.
the right space for you to be
And
in.
and even saying no to something, because don't get me wrong, it's like I was looking at the dollar signs, you
Right.
know? And but to be in that knowingness and that certainty and to have the courage to
Yeah.
say no to that, not exactly knowing what's on the other side of that,
Right.
it's huge. And so I've been in a couple of scenarios now, quite a few, where I've been able to practice that. And so it's getting easier. And also, just say the yeses, like going to the ecstatic dance last night was very new for me. So
Yeah.
I was a little out of my comfort zone, but in the same way, I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I found my people. I can
That's fun.
just free flow and everybody else is doing the same thing. This is amazing.
Yeah, it's a great practice.
Yeah.
Dance, especially that more unstructured ecstatic dance, it's such a great practice in following your inner flow and listening to your body, listening to the energy that's
Right.
moving through your body and where do you want to move? And it's such a
Yeah.
great practice that's very relatable to life and following your inner guidance.
And getting out of your head. And so
Yeah.
that's something like I have a couple of offerings that are just on paper at this point. And so my next leap that I've been looking at for a couple of months now, and I'm feeling more of a draw, a pull towards that is to pull groups of 8 together, specifically women to start with. But
Okay.
there's a lot of men I've noticed here that I've met who are entirely ready and open for that. Because I think with the whole male female masculinity and femininity balancing out right here and now that's
Yeah.
happening, a lot of us aren't aware of that. But there's a place for that and teaching people, okay, this is how we center ourselves and this is how we can practice getting out of our mind, our monkey mind, and just dropping into our hearts and learning about what is energy and how does that apply to us and what do people mean when they're talking about their chakras and energy centers and
Yeah.
ground yourself. And so bringing all that together and really just teaching people how to do that and heal their inner child, which has been a lifetime of learning for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all need to heal the inner child.
Don't we?
Some of us more than others, for sure. But I think everybody has, to some degree, a level of childhood trauma or holding or fear around all the energy they encountered as children,
Right.
especially those of us who grew up as extremely psychically sensitive children.
Mhm.
And it's not a competition. Some people actually experience quite intense abuse or physical trauma as a child. But for everyone, childhood is traumatic because we're so open. We come in
Right.
so open. And so everything we experience, it's like it's happening to us. Even if it's happening around us, it's happening
It's
to us.
happening to us. Yeah, I see that.
Right? So
Definitely.
if mom or dad are super stressed out or, not in a good space, it's happening
Mm-hmm.
to us.
Mm-hmm. And that makes me think of patterns and how I've spent a lot of years breaking patterns. And the first one where I was extremely mindful about was breaking my own childhood pattern and how I raised my daughters. I wanted to
Totally.
stop that pattern of the abuse, that I had experienced. So even yesterday, I heard a child screaming. And so I see a mom and she's carrying her child, 2 or 3 years of age. They're
Yeah.
throwing tantrums about this, that, and the other
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
she puts her child in the car and I still heard screaming and all my little tendrils went up like, what's
Yeah.
going on, right? I'm
Yeah.
poking my head out the door. So it felt like it's happening to me. Like I need to protect that child right now.
Yeah.
And it was just a little 2 year old doing a little 2 year old thing.
Yeah. Having their moment of severe
Having their moment.
dysregulation,
Yeah,
as
major.
happens quite frequently for
Uh,
little ones. Yeah.
mm-hmm.
But like you said, for psychically sensitive people, like we feel that immediately. Like there's a child
Immediately.
screaming, something's not
Right?
okay. And the reaction might be, I need to go solve that or heal that. But
Definitely me. It brings out the warrior in me. Like I feel
mm,
like there are
protect.
times to protect, exactly. And
Mhm.
that's actually something that I feel that I am looking at a lot. Like when do I speak up? When do I speak out? And when do I am I grounded right now?
Mhm.
Am I being reactive or am I responding to something?
Yeah. It's a good
And
self-awareness practice. Those are great questions to
yeah,
in any moment where you feel that energy light up, that trigger of whoa
right.
to something that's happening. It's a great self-awareness practice. Just okay, first,
Mm-hmm.
am I grounded? Second, am I wanting to speak up as a response to that or a reaction?
Or a reaction, right? Because
There's a
there's a
big
lot of
difference.
reactionary stuff happening these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big reaction soup
Yeah. Oh, I
right
like
now.
that.
Lots of reactions, lots of energy to react to, and
Yeah. Tastes pretty sour.
all the reactivity. Yeah. It's pretty sour.
But there's so much
Love
healing
that.
happening because of it. I mean, it might feel and it might look pretty distasteful, but I'm looking forward to what's on the other side of this. And
Me too.
yeah, and I think as far as these offerings that I have, feeling really pressured just to do it already. Like, be curious. Let's
Yeah.
look at this and have fun with it instead of going to my very serious self. I can be very
Yeah.
serious.
Well, I love that because to me, that's the difference between reacting and responding. Like when there's
Hmm.
all this stuff lit up in the world around you and your experiences, the reaction might be that this is awful, the resistance, the frustration, the anger. But if we give that space to release and then come back to our grounded, aligned space,
Hmm.
we can respond with how can I bring joy to this situation? How can I bring love to this situation? How can I bring healing, how can I respond in
Right.
a way that's going to create a change for the better, right?
Hmm.
Rather than get stuck
Yeah.
in the reactive negativity of it.
Right. And keep it light and playful.
Yeah, love
Yeah.
that. There's so much space for creativity when we're in that light and playful response space. There's so much room for new things to emerge rather
Right.
than when we go into reactivity or frustration or resistance. There's no space for growth and change and new better things to
Mm-hmm.
emerge.
Mm-hmm. Being
So,
rigid, yeah,
mhm,
there is no
yeah,
growth. A lot of people hang on to things so tightly because that's all that they've known.
yeah,
And
they're
that
safe.
keeps them, yeah, comfortable and safe. But in that place of safety, they're constantly bumping up against a lot of pain.
Yeah,
So it's like you have to ask yourself, what's less painful? Hanging on to what I've been hanging on to for years and years and years, or taking that big scary step
yeah.
to
Would I rather
then
be happy and
allow
okay?
everything. Yeah. And when you let go of that, I still laugh and get excited. Like, I can't believe that just happened. Like,
Yeah.
I let go of this and boom, this wonderful thing just got offered up on the plate for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing every time, every time. But when we're first learning to let go, it can feel so scary. Like I can't let this go because what else is there? This is all I know. This is all
Yeah.
I am. This is what's familiar and safe. But the more you practice letting go, the more trust opens up because you see, like you said, every time when you let go, new space is there for something better to emerge.
Exactly.
It becomes
Yeah.
easier and easier to let go and
Yeah.
trust because you have that certainty
Yep.
in the goodness to come.
Right.
Yes.
And, I always love using curiosity. Just bring yourself back to that child self. I mean, how curious were you as a child? I know I was super curious.
Yeah.
So
Figure
curious. Sometimes
yourself
I get
out.
myself into trouble curious, but
Mhm.
so I'm looking for the fun
Yes.
curious. And, going to this ecstatic dance thing for me just opened me up to another beautiful community out there having a grand time. And we were having a conversation. But there was this moment when we were looking into each other's eyes,
Yes.
and I see you and you're safe, you're beautiful. And I noticed that because I can't help but have little eyes everywhere. I'm looking into her eyes, but I'm
Yeah.
noticing how she kept darting off. It was
Mm.
challenging. And
Yeah.
I felt the urge for my eyes to dart off. But there was somebody right in my outward gaze, and I could see how beautifully committed she was to connecting with that other person across from her.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like validation that, I'm in the right space and I'm again following the path, those little nuggets that keep getting laid out before me, but also noticing like a difference in the different age group. Do you know what I'm trying to
The
say? Like
generational,
the generational gap with
in how,
messaging and how
yeah.
we were brought up, possibly. Who knows? I mean, there's so many different aspects that can play a part in that, and how it's
Yes.
not safe to look into another person's eyes for fear that they're going to be seen,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, there's so much
Okay.
there. Eye
We're
gazing is
opening
a
our,
deep practice for sure, because you're opening
yes,
yourself up to being seen.
yes,
Right. And so all of the inner judgments are coming out, inner
yes,
shame, unworthiness, all those
yeah.
things are coming up for you as you just allow yourself to be seen, especially if you're in a receptive space. Because eye gazing goes both ways, you know.
Uh-huh.
Some people might bring in a little protection being and then just like stare you down.
Oh, right.
And there's not a whole lot of receiving the being seen, right? But
Yes, yeah,
if each person is really in that allowing yourself to be seen and seeing the other,
yeah.
there's a lot there.
It's
It's a deep
beautiful.
practice. Letting go of all the stuff that comes up in the mind, right? The judgments or the shame or the unworthiness.
Yeah, and just limiting messages,
Hmm.
beliefs from the past, and
Yeah.
it's so healing. And what I love best about that is you can see that healing in your own children.
Yeah.
The work that we've done for ourselves, and then you see your babies grow up. And yeah,
Just that leap
it's
in healing.
touching.
Yeah.
Yep.
They get
Yeah,
to be in a whole new space, right?
exactly.
It's so helpful not to pass on generational trauma
Mm.
or generational programming. It's very helpful. Our kids get to have a whole new space to operate from. So much less of a burden to carry forward.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, living here in Wilmington, like getting here, I really called in. I want joy, lots of joy, lots of
Yeah.
playfulness. And
Yeah.
everywhere I turn, it's happening. Like everywhere I turn, there's so many things for me to choose. So Sunday, when I was working, there was a woman who came in and she was checking in for her service, asking questions. And she seemed very polite and super nice, beautiful person. But I could feel that she was guarded. And I actually felt some sort of judgment. Like I was reading something on her and I didn't really give it a whole lot of time because I was doing my job. And they left and went on their merry way. And then a mother daughter came in and they did the salt cave. And after she left, she's like, I want to know, like, do you have a lot of friends around here? Because your energy is just amazing and I really want to connect with you. And so she's like, do they have any rules here about handing out numbers and blah, blah, blah?
Right.
So just in experiencing the dynamic between one experience of potentially a person who might be going through something
Yeah.
and I'm picking up on that and getting a read on that, and then having another experience with someone who is way more open and comfortable in her body and could reflect. We were reflecting that back. Either way, we're reflecting our stuff,
Yeah.
back at each other. Just always living here on Earth it's Earth school for sure.
It
You're always
is.
learning.
There's always something to learn. But
Right?
I'm noticing in your experience with moving and then setting intentions, right? Creative intentions for what you'd
Hmm.
like to experience. What are you creating in your new space? You're creating opportunities for aligned work. You're creating opportunities to
Yes.
connect with people that you're aligned with and make new friends and
Right.
opportunities for joy and just
And
to
creativity.
yes, and creativity.
Yeah.
And just for you to be able to look back over, because you've been there a few months now and go, oh yeah, this is happening, you know. It's great to validate like this was my creative intention. This is what I was creating for myself, opportunities to connect with new
Yeah.
friends, new people, great work and joy and creativity.
Hmm.
It's all coming in.
And it's all coming in. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard, you try to pan out and see how things are going to look.
Mhm.
Or even if you're in that frame of mind where you're like trying to be organized, I can do this and then I can do that. And after that happens, it'll maybe give me an opportunity. And sure, that might work for a little bit, but at some point in time, it's been my experience that I get stopped in my tracks, right? And I get rerouted. So, like you said, to look back and to
Yeah.
see, like, I don't really have to work that hard at doing this. It's happening just
Yeah.
organically.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm
Creating from
always, I'm always,
effortlessness.
mm-hmm.
It's like a breath of fresh air.
Right?
I love it. Well, you were sharing before how you noticed with both the physical move that you made from one state to many states away, and then this practice you've just begun of dance. It sounds like dance isn't a new practice for you, but this specific community of dancers that you've been connecting with is new. But both
Yeah,
of those kinds of movement, we were noticing before just how much the physical movement brings out the energetic movement. And
right.
there's sometimes a stigma for people that move around a lot, like, why are you moving around so much? I've personally moved around a lot. And for me, I always notice and validate the benefit on that energetic level. Usually, when we
Mm-hmm.
move, it's because there's a big energetic clearing and a big shift in the energy, and we're just ready for something different on that physical level. But
Yeah.
yeah, what have you noticed in your physical move and in your continuing practice of dance? And how does that support you in moving the energy both emotionally, psychically?
Oh, a lot emotionally. But there's one thing that really stands out. It's brought me back into my childhood self in a playful way in the
Mm.
exploration.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
take a wrong turn. I'm like, oh, well, that's okay because look at this place. What is this place I've never
Yeah.
been to before, right?
Was it really a
And-
wrong turn or just an
or
opportunity to
even
explore
meeting
something
new
new?
people, right?
Yeah.
So you get so stuck in the same old thing over and over again. So being in physically moving all of my things and letting go of things was such a relief. I sold so much that I just did not need. You begin realizing like how much you carry around that you don't really need at all. You have things tucked away for years. So
How
there's
much does
that.
that physical stuff, represent in some way all of the energetic baggage?
Energetic baggage.
Yeah.
Yes, so true. That's a good point.
Clearing out stuff is so great.
It really is. Yeah. And so since I've been here, like I'd mentioned, but I'm physically carrying around baggages now all the time, there's still energy being moved through that, as you say. And I'm looking forward to being rooted. Definitely looking
Yeah.
forward to that. And it's coming soon. I can feel it. I have no idea what that's going to look like for me.
Hmm. But you've put
But
certain
it's kept me.
intentions out in
I
terms of
have,
what you're
absolutely.
creating in that new home and new
Mm-hmm.
space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Playfulness and community is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Community for me is super important. I'm getting so much unconditional love from the dogs that I watch, all these
Yeah.
different dogs. And again, there's the playfulness, right? Because I'm going out and I'm walking these beautiful creatures
Yeah.
and taking care of their needs in that sense. But it also allows me another opportunity to explore a new neighborhood, to meet new people. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been beautiful.
I love it. Yeah. And that you're just keeping the energy moving, keep taking those steps,
Yeah.
trusting you're going to land in the space that you're creating on that energetic level. Dogs are such great healers.
Oh, Lordy. And the
They're
dog I'm
great for healers
watching.
to be with, but they're also such great healers in terms of,
Yes.
well, the playfulness, but also they're so in the moment and they just let go, right?
Yeah,
Dogs are like,
absolutely.
forgiveness is just so natural for them.
Right. Yep, it's so true.
They don't hold on
Yeah.
to old stuff. They just move
And that
forward.
And that was something I never even thought of.
Mm.
I didn't think about that too much. It was a suggestion to partake in this company in this
Yeah,
way, to provide a roof over my head and a place for
yeah,
me to spend time for me to get from point A to point B,
yeah.
and never really gave it any thought. Like, I love pets, I love
Mhm.
dogs, I love animals and cats. Ginger's sitting over here to the left of me. And never once did I think, like, how healing they can be for me. And they
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. As healers, dogs very much appreciate your energy as a
Hmm.
healer because
True.
you're going to feel safe to them. And that just awareness on the telepathic level, you're going to be able to understand their needs, right?
Right.
Because you're not trying to figure them out. You're just tuned in to their level of communication. And so,
And speaking to that, the whole telepathic.
yeah.
So I'm with Marley right now, and the very first time I ever watched her caretaker said to me, as soon as you pulled up, she was so excited. It's like she knew you were coming. Like, oh my, it was like the most amazing experience for
Yeah.
her to share that with me. And she was like in a moment of awe herself.
Wow.
It's like we knew each other from other
Yeah.
lifetime,
You had already
right?
said hello in spirit, and she was like, oh, this is that
Exactly.
one person.
This is her. She's here
Here she
finally.
is. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
she gave me the biggest hug today. She got up on her hind legs and literally hugged me.
Aw. Doggy hugs are the best. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
that.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. Aw.
So yeah, it's been a wonderful experience all in all. It's been a huge growth spurt in trusting
Yeah.
my intuitive nudges and just
Yeah.
building a practice that works for me, recognizing when something isn't really the best opportunity for me, even if
Yeah.
it's like going out to dinner someplace on an invitation or whatnot,
Yeah.
or just always asking yourself and checking in with, for me, how does that resonate in my body? How does that feel? And did I just say yes because it was an expectation
Yeah.
or,
Was it a
you know,
people pleasing response or was
right.
it aligned with you?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So important for us givers to
Uh-huh.
have tools for noticing what's really in alignment for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So good.
definitely. Yeah,
And
so I'm looking forward to the quiet times here at Mary's house.
yeah. What are some of the old programs, either from childhood or family programs,
Mhm.
that you notice you got to undo or release more of in this moving process of just trusting and following your intuition? Do you have any
Mm.
specific communication around the types of maybe family programs or fear that came up for you, even stuff that you might have thought, oh, I've already healed that, but it comes up at a deeper level, when we make big changes, right?
Yeah, in relationship for sure. Living in lack, this has been a huge testament to where am I leaning more towards? It's not always about the money, even though it kind of is in some
Yeah.
ways, right? But yeah, I was raised in a mentality of living in lack. There was never enough, or,
Mm,
pinching pennies or judgments around people who are more successful for whatever reasons that they
yeah.
are, whether they were born into it or whether they worked hard for that.
Interesting. So there was like equating wealth with maybe sin. Was it a religious judgment? What was the,
No, it
or just a
really boiled down
competition energy?
just a
Yeah.
competition, and I think lack of self-worth. There was a
Yeah.
lot of that I was hearing, witnessing, didn't have those words for it at the time. I do now, and took that upon myself
Yeah.
too. Right. And
Yeah.
so learning to really value myself has been a huge lesson and belief system that I've been bumping up against. The whole money thing, I've been listening to a book called Love Money, Money Loves You. It's been super, super helpful. Just speaks to money as an energy. That's all it
Yeah.
is. Everything's energy. Um, and then relationship things. I had met someone and it was like, boom, like karmic.
Yeah.
And so I was recognizing within me going down a pattern of fixing people or wanting to
Mm,
fix people, or like deciding they're fine on their potential, and learning that oftentimes I will sensationalize things in, I suppose, not just relative to intimate relationships, but all relationships. Sometimes I can sensationalize things, and that has a lot to do with my background, but a lot to do with my makeup as a person, which
like
I'm
seeing the
learning,
best in someone or
right, right.
only perceiving the good before you see some of the shadow.
See some of the shadow, right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm still, healing parts of myself. There's still grief that comes up. I don't know exactly what it is that it's relative to. I don't spend a lot of time because I don't feel it's important for me to really know.
Just letting it, yeah,
Just
letting it be
letting
and
it come
letting
and
it
letting
release.
it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a universal human experience of loss that
Mm-hmm.
we've all experienced as souls. Some of us more so in this lifetime, but all of us in some lifetime. So when we let that grief come up and out, just,
Yeah.
yeah, creates more space for our creative flow and our
Right.
joy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
so it sounds like for sure this move was a big change on a physical level, but so many levels. Right?
so many levels.
Not just
Oh my
one,
Lord.
it's all of
Yeah.
them. All of
Yeah.
it, relationships, finances, career.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything. Which seems like it's the only way it ever works with me.
Yeah.
One big lump, you know?
Yeah. Not just work a little bit. Let's not just work over here, but work the whole arena.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
all the
Of a
levels.
few years, we're kind of laid back and having some fun, and then all of a sudden, boom, it's
Yeah.
time to move on.
Yes. Deep transformation. Maybe that's
Deep
your
transformation. Yeah.
Scorpio moon at work.
Yeah. Well, years ago, before I uh, resonated with the knowing that I'm a healer and knew anything, it was just LaLaneya working at a dental office, blah, blah, blah. And I had a reading, and, they told me some things that I've heard a few other times later on down the road from other people. And it's led me to dig deeper in other arenas, I suppose, where you can learn more about yourself, one of which is like human design.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
again,
love
I
it.
bring up astrology. Yeah. And it's helped me to accept me for who I am. There were so many things about myself where it's just the way God made me. But
Hmm.
somewhere along the way, I was told I had to change that.
Yeah.
And when I learned a few things through human design and through the astrological charting, it's who I am. I can
Yeah.
relax. I don't need to change that at all. I just
Yeah.
need to learn how to live with
Yeah.
that and what works best for me over here versus over here?
Yeah.
And it was a huge relief for me, a huge
Yeah.
lesson in self love and acceptance, and taking my power back.
Yeah.
not giving so much of my power away in what others think of me
Yeah.
or have labeled me.
Right. And you can
Yeah,
really transform what you may have previously perceived as like an issue, a challenge, a difficulty, a difficult aspect of who you are. You
right.
can see, actually, there's a superpower here.
Yeah, yeah,
This is actually a good thing.
yeah.
Can transform those perceptions of judgment and lack into what's actually a treasure and an ability that you have.
Yeah, and with each new yes that I say yes to, with each new decision, and I'm brought back to like 2014 when my father, he was diagnosed with cancer at that point in time. And I started realizing like how I was picking up on these things before he had mentioned and told the family. But once he said that and told all of us, there was something within me that sparked. And I was like, I am saying yes to all those things that I feared. And that's when I had, like, I did the first year clairvoyant program and I was like more involved with the teachings, which that really opens you up to more healing,
Yeah,
in a huge way. um,
putting it lightly.
and waking up, like just waking up to the truths in life, like wow, there is more to this world than just getting up and going to work and going to bed and then doing it all over
Absolutely.
again,
Yeah.
but I learned going to the coaching school that I went to, holy shit, I'm actually like I'd been teaching myself this stuff
Yeah.
without knowing it, leading up to this. I am with my people again is the
Nice.
moment that right? So I ended up doing the full program.
Nice.
And that was just like another step towards getting me to where I am here and now today.
Yeah.
All a practice of just trusting that nudge and getting to the other side and breaking patterns.
Yeah. It sounds like your dad's diagnosis. And then did he die shortly after that? Or?
He did. He died. So that was like 2014, November. He died May of 2015. And I had taken a sabbatical from my salon and told all my clients, which was another scary step for me. That's when I was really starting to step into those things that scared me. But I knew that I would most likely regret not being there by my dad's side. And so I stepped away from the salon for as long as it took me and helped with his care because he
Yeah.
wanted to be at the house. And so I was there with my stepmom, and my sister was there sometimes, and, step siblings. So another huge eye opening experience.
Yeah, it's quite a catalyst. Sometimes
Yeah.
death of a loved one can be that huge catalyst for,
Mm-hmm.
okay, how am I living that I need to change, right?
Right.
In what
That.
ways am I holding myself back? It
Mm-hmm.
really wakes us up to the importance of living our lives.
Yes, exactly. Like truly living.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, Jean, I'm just remembering that leading up to that point, I had gone through like probably a year or a year and a half where I was so engrossed in reading about near death experiences. I was just
So you were
gravitationally
already
being
studying
pulled.
death.
Isn't that something? It
Yeah.
just, yeah, it's
Yeah.
so wild to think of. And
Yeah,
then,
it's like your
so
soul knows. These are things we have to validate. Sometimes we don't notice them
yeah,
at first, that we're just intuitively drawn to something and we
yep,
don't necessarily connect the dots right away.
right,
And then later we go, oh, that's why I was, following that
yeah.
thread of information or learning about that because it had great importance for what was coming
Great
up in your life.
importance.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I was able to witness experiences between my dad and I. Like, I wanted certain words to be said, I wanted to hear
Mm.
certain things from him. And I
Yeah.
did. I got my gift.
Oh, good.
And, um,
Was he
and
able
I,
to open up more before he died or
yeah, and the beautiful story is that he shared with me how he sees what I do with my children and how he doesn't understand how I can do it, and I'm a great mom and blah blah blah. But the
yeah.
one thing, there was this story, this limiting, I'll call it a limiting belief because I knew he loved me.
Mm.
But I used to always say, he didn't it was hard for him to share that. And I very
Yeah.
rarely ever heard those words. And just randomly one day, because he lost the ability to really speak, he wrote down, I love you on a piece of paper and handed it to
Oh,
me. And so to this day, it's embossed and I carry it around with me in my
that's so
wallet.
great.
Isn't that awesome?
That's so great.
I mean, oh my gosh, how beautiful is that?
You're like, I know it's in there somewhere. It's great when it does come
Yeah.
out though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But with all
Yeah.
those the books and the movies that I watched about near death, and I was able to witness all these things where people would brush it off like, oh, it's just the medicine. Like, no, he's actually going through his life review right now,
Yes.
here in front of me in moments. And
Yeah. It's a little bit of both. It's like sometimes
yeah,
those medicines can
can, right?
can like help the
But
person get out of their body enough to let go and look at
yeah,
the life review.
exactly.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
you were there to witness that
So I was there
process
to
with
witness
them.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
So
the
it was
process of dying.
beautiful. It was like watching him pass
Mhm.
and seeing him take his last breath was the scariest freaking thing I've ever experienced and the most beautiful. I had a smile on my face and
Yeah.
tears flowing down my face when
Wow.
everybody, and we're all holding hands around
Mhm.
him. And I was standing at his feet, which was really symbolic for me because I was always giving him foot rubs and foot baths
Mhm.
and stuff. But on his last breath, he like looked up to his right, up and above me, and he just
Mhm.
smiled
Yeah.
and took his last breath. I was like, "Oh my God, I cannot make this stuff up. I
Yeah.
can't, it was just so
Yeah.
it was like it was a beautiful gift for me to
Sounds
see
like
and to
he had an
witness.
important guide there
Yeah.
supporting him to step out and let go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcoming him to the other side, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. Beautiful. I love that you
Yeah.
got to be present and witness that. It's
Thank you.
profound to
Yeah.
be with someone in their death process,
It
like a
was.
experience of being a death doula.
Yeah.
Do you think that's
Yeah, it
something
was
you would ever do
beautiful.
again for others?
You know what? I have considered it briefly. I know I could totally do that and be there for
Yeah.
people. I just
I was just
have,
thinking maybe you should add that to your resume.
right?
Death doula.
Um,
Yeah. I
I
think you'd be a very
just,
capable death doula.
yeah, yeah. It's hard to really articulate what it is that I feel for people, but I feel a lot.
Yeah. A lot of love. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's such a gift.
Yeah.
I think the role of death doula is becoming more known and used. I think there's a lot more death doulas out there, and
Yeah.
a lot more people recognize the benefit of that.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone has close family members, that can be present for the process. I'm sure that
Mm.
would always be the preference if someone has family members
Right.
that they love to be
Right.
present with them, but not
Mm-hmm.
everyone has that.
Yeah.
So it's a great gift to share, to have a loving presence while someone is in their process of letting go and
Mm-hmm.
really inspire them to love
Let go.
themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
to end on a good note,
Exactly.
right?
Right. Exactly. Right. Open
To,
arms.
to complete the process with forgiveness and letting go. So, yeah,
Yeah.
to be the healer that offers a healing to go.
Mm-hmm. And I can't help but think of there's a lot of people who do that work, but they could use some guidance in how to clear that energy and set
Yeah.
their space, and so that they don't take on so much of that person's energy or the family, yeah, or get stuck
Yeah.
in the grieving for that
Right.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, it really would take a lot of awareness and tools around working with all the energy. So you're
Mm-hmm.
allowing that for your own healing to happen in the process, and
Right.
you're not taking on what's not yours. And yeah, yeah, death doulas. I'm sure most have some awareness of some kind of tools for working with energy or sort of a natural way of processing. But I would imagine you wouldn't be able to do that work for very long without that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine it would take a toll for sure.
Yeah, it would definitely take a toll. Anyone working in hospice or
It's so
nursing,
true. Yeah.
all the healers need tools.
We do. Healers need healers.
Healers, yeah, healers need to heal themselves.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about. Well, thank you so much, LaLaneya, for sharing your journey with me
You're
today
welcome.
about
Thank
this
you.
major life change you've been through and just how much beauty in the process of trust and surrender that you've been through and all the growth as
All the
you
growth. Yeah.
continue to trust and follow your next steps.
Yep. Stay in my heart. Stay in my heart.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
sharing with us
Appreciate it.
today. All
Yeah, it's been
right.
fun.
Yay. It's been really fun. I appreciate you. Thanks for
Appreciate you.
joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time on The Higher Vibe. Hello. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw. If you did, go ahead and hit like and subscribe. Share this with friends. Really helps us out, and we really appreciate it. And we look forward to seeing you next time.